I don't look at Beterbiev and think to myself, I've got a concern about what you're doing.
Before this fight, you would have gone Bivol, right? I mean, I think we're pretty much in the same space.
Not necessarily.
Is that right?
No, I don't bend and flex like you. I'm consistent. I don't run with the hair.
You crack me up. Is it a fight I want to see? No. I don't
really.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
I think it will be an interesting fight. Welcome to Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. This is episode 56, a busy schedule. Strangely though, there's one subject we won't be talking about, which is the Saudi press conference, because apparently if you're not entirely praising the Saudis, then you're out. So we won't be talking about their press conference. We're talking about other things. Spence, how are you?
Simon, very well. Yourself?
Good, mate. Nice to see you.
Good.
First subject, interesting subject, but one we discussed last week, which was our belief that the fight between Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith could have an outcome for Callum Smith. What we saw on Saturday was, I can't put it any other way, even though I'm a big Smith family fan, was a one-sided fight between one fighter that seemed to be on a different level than the other.
Yeah.
And that's not me just throwing around levels indiscriminately, but I was surprised at the complete superiority and dominance that Beterbiev had over Callum Smith.
As was I. I mean, you know, it was a masterclass in many ways. Beterbiev, who we've seen always as a wrecking ball, if you like, in many ways, just using his strength, ploughing forward. But you know, there's an IQ behind what he's doing there. You know, like you know, you saw him picking shots,
he's a world-class
finding
operator.
holes, world-class operator. And I think we sort of fell into the trap really of the performance he put in against Anthony Yarde. Was Yarde just, you know, excellent in that performance, or was Beterbiev? We looked at the fundamental mistakes that Beterbiev was making in those fights, where he was holding his feet, reaching with that right hand that he always throws, and he was getting caught with a check left hook. On that basis, we're looking at Callum Smith and saying, he's got half a chance here. Smith is a world-class operator.
And that's
the
point.
An unbelievable left hook.
But also, we didn't just say because we've got some ridiculous partisan view. It's because Callum Smith, like most of the Smiths, operates at world level.
Absolutely.
And so the idea that he has the capabilities and the size to go and do some damage to Beterbiev was a reasonable assertion. But in watching the fight, we both thought that in order for him to get some traction in this fight, that he needed to be up close.
Yeah.
But when he was up close, the power that Beterbiev pushes him on the outside. When he's on the outside, he's getting picked off. So he's in a permanent world of pain.
Amazingly for me, what really caught my eye was that Beterbiev was beating him to the jab. He had the better jab. He was finding his range. And like you say, Simon, he was better at long range. He was better at mid-range. And he was better inside as well. There was nothing Callum Smith could do. And I think that became plainly obvious to see as early as the first round. Beterbiev started mauling forward, pushing him. Round 4 was a really tough round for Callum Smith as well, where you're thinking he could be getting stopped here. Yep. It was sort of like, you know, he had a good second round, but then round 4 was a real... It was a time when he was, you know, on the end of a lot of
weather
punishment.
in a storm.
Absolutely, weather in a storm. It was just, it looked like then it was a matter of time. And I think it was just it was a first-class performance from Beterbiev.
It was better.
Going into that fight, though, Simon, you're talking about and you're looking at who's the best in this division. And we've seen, you know, the performances from Dimitri Bivol more recently against Lyndon Arthur out in Saudi Arabia. And you just look at him and go, I think Bivol, you've got to lean towards Bivol. But on that performance against Beterbiev, with Beterbiev there, you look at that and go, I think he starts favourite against Bivol going into this one because, like I say, he had better boxing IQ than I give him credit for before. Like I said, I thought he was just one of those guys that used his strength and mauled through his opponents. But what we saw there was the way he was picking his shots, not putting everything into every shot, finding the holes and slowly, systematically breaking them down.
But there's also an accusation, isn't there, about Beterbiev that he doesn't start fights quickly.
Yeah.
Yet this one, he started the fight quickly.
Yeah.
And that may well be because Callum came to meet him in the middle of the ring and he was forced into doing so. But by the same token, what we're seeing an evolution in Beterbiev, which you describe as boxing IQ. Of course it has to be boxing IQ, but it's also because his trainers are enhancing his ability to be able to be a better fighter. And one of the observations that were made about Callum Smith was by Carl Froch, talked about the fact that clearly Callum Smith is a world-class operator. and clearly in the fights that we've seen him in, and winning world titles and obviously losing to Canelo Alvarez, there was a gap there between the two fighters there, but he's a world-class operator. But Carl Froch talks about how can you possibly go into a fight against one of the pound for pounds in world boxing in a brutally competitive light heavyweight division, make the first fight that you have in the light heavies, Beterbiev, not have had a fight for 18 months, and expect a better outcome. What do you think to Carl's evaluation of that?
Well, I think that you just got to look at where Callum Smith is in his career, the opportunities he's waiting for. You go back to that Canelo Alvarez, beating that he took.
I don't think Carl means about it, because you take opportunities when you can get them.
Yeah.
But what I think he's saying is, when you realistically break it down, he's fighting against a monster who has got 19 wins with 19 knockouts. Yes, we've seen Callum Johnson put him down, and we know that there's some vulnerability in there. And I think it was Marcus Brown?
No, Anthony Yard hurt him in the 5th round, 7th round.
But he came through those.
Yeah, but he showed weaknesses there that I thought. I was going off the Anthony Yard performance and looking at that, going, well, if Callum Smith's in there and he exploits those holes and he finds those holes, he will make him pay. He will stay hurt. He'll jump on it. But
Froch's point is in order to go into a fight like this, I mean, Anthony Yard was match fit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He'd come back after the Lyndon Arthur defeat during COVID. He'd blasted Lyndon Arthur out in the next fight. He'd got himself into a position where he was match fit. Yeah. Whereas Callum has been out of circulation for 18 months. He's now stepping up a weight class against an elite in that weight class. Well, no,
he boxed at light heavyweight before. Did he? Yeah. He boxed at light heavyweight twice before since the Canelo Alvarez
Fair enough.
So it's sort of fitted into that light heavyweight.
But not at that level.
But no, of course not at that level. But I think that where I'm sat with this, and I understand what Cole was saying about inactivity, he was never going to be able to step up against a world-class operator like Beterbiev and put in a performance and win the fight. Understand that, Cole. I understand exactly where you're coming from. But from my point of view, I'm looking at it. Okay, Callum's been around a long time. English, British, Commonwealth, European, World, Ring Magazine, World Boxing Series. Like, he's done it all. He's ticked all the boxes. And you look at that and you go, well, it's an opportunity. You want to challenge yourself against the best. Yes, he's been out for 18 months. Inactivity's played a part. But if I'm in that position and Beterbiev's offered to me, I'll go, that's the challenge I'm looking for.
I know.
That's the challenge I'm looking for.
You take the opportunity. The only point I'm making...
the challenge, I think it is, Simon.
I get it. And the opportunity is there, the challenge. The only thing that Carl is saying, I think, is that if you actually wanted to win, then you needed to have fights in between that and that to make yourself match fit. But that's perhaps...
That's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen the other.
Yeah. By the way, which do you think it is? Beterbiev or Beterbiev?
Well, I've always said Beterbiev. I've only started saying Beterbiev today because you're saying it. And I didn't want to embarrass you by saying
Do you know
Beterbiev.
why I'm saying Beterbiev? Because I listen to the ring announcers. Okay. And you would think that the ring announcers that are being instructed by the fighter himself would know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
So when I'm listening to it thinking all us imbeciles over here are going, Beterbiev, right? And then I listen to a ring announcer that must have been instructed by the Beterbiev camp what his name is.
Well, it must have,
So it's Beterbiev.
So we're going Beterbiev.
We are. Right.
So forget we've ever said Beterbiev.
Beterbiev is a thing of past.
Struggling to get that.
I don't know who Beterbiev is. He's a fighter that we don't know anything about.
Okay, right. Well, Beterbiev. But
what about Callum Smith now? He's had 2 fights with 2 juggernauts of boxing. One in Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. And obviously now in Artur Beterbiev.
Are you struggling to say that, by the way? Because Beterbiev's in the head.
Yeah, I was just thinking my way through it.
All right.
What do you think for him next? I mean, there's a possibility he could go up to cruiserweight. Yep. There's a lesser likely... Do you think he could drop back down to super middles?
I don't think he drops down to super middle. I mean, he's 6'3". I mean, when he was boxing at super middle, he looked at his frame and went, how are you making that weight? Yeah. So I think once you've gone up, Simon, you can't come back down.
So he's a world-class operator that's used to being at the very end, the very top of his division. He potentially knows now that he can't win anything of significant substance in the light heavies, akin to what he's won before, because of the landscape with Beterbiev and potentially Bivol.
Yeah, that's the undisputed that's going to happen.
Where does he go? I mean, it's the first time he's been dropped in a fight.
Yeah.
It's the first beating that he's really taken, albeit there was levels between potentially him and Canelo. Do you think this is the end of the road for him?
Well, it's sort of like, it's a little bit soul destroying when you take a beating the way that he took that against Beterbiev, hitting the floor and whatnot. And I think that he will look at it. And like I say, he's been a great, unbelievable ambassador for boxing, a great servant to the sport, as all the Smith family. You know, and you look at it, and as a fighter, I'm looking at it and he's going, right, he's won everything there is to win. You know, he's won everything there is to win.
Has he got enough money,
oh, absolutely. He must have been financially secure.
You reckon?
And he's looking at that and you go, look, you got a young family, you got life after boxing, you know, you can stay within the sport, manage fighters, train fighters, whatever you want to do, that's how you get your fix, you know, staying within the sport. But when you look at it and the beating he took, and I saw him afterwards, I saw the interview, and yeah, you know, of course he was going to be down, but you just look at that and go, perhaps that's the end of the road, mate, you know, like, because you've cemented your legacy. Is probably a good way of putting it.
It's a bloody hard thing for you guys, though, isn't it?
It's
to go out. I mean, first of all, when the lights go down, where does it all go for you guys?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, all this anger, not so much, all this energy, all this determination, all this will to win has got to go somewhere. Do
you know?
And also, given the background of his career, difficult to go out with a loss like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what it is, Simon, for a boxer that retires at whatever level, whenever he decides to do that? When a boxer retires, he loses his identity and he's got to be fit into life as a normal civilian.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing to do, because when you're a boxer, you know, from a young age, most of us start at 7, 8, 9 years of age. You start off and you sort of live, eat, sleep boxing, get up in the morning, go running, then go to school, then you're training afterwards. And that sort of continues. And then as you become a professional...
It's a way of life, isn't it?
It's a way of life. And as a professional, you're doing it. So once
it also
it's
identifies
over,
you, doesn't it?
Yeah, once it's over, you go, right, so now a boxer is struggling to find direction in life. You know, you've got that discipline.
Well, I suppose it's even more so.
You've also got that addictive personality, so whatever you go into.
Yeah.
So, you know, some fighters can go down the wrong road, fall down, you know.
I think it's the same
crowd.
for most sports, you know, where the lights get turned off and you're no longer a centre of attention. But and obviously, having been involved in football, I've seen it manifest itself with players. I think it's probably more extreme in boxing.
Well, it's the ultimate gladiatorial sport, isn't it? So, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not...
But also the relationships you have in the gym and trainers that define the way... Because you're going into a sport and into an auditorium where people can legally, potentially do serious harm to you and actually help you shuffle off this mortal coil. So it must be a real challenge for him to think about. But we'll see. We'll see what he does next. What did you make of the post-fight information that came out about Beterbiev and some issues around testosterone enhancing drugs, where he appears to have returned an atypical finding?
Well, just of course it raises concerns straight away. You think, here we go again, you know, another situation where we've got a great fighter that's gone down the wrong road, done something stupid or whatever. But I know that the results that come back, he went and then retested straight away, didn't he? So that was back in December time.
Sorry, Spence, I said post-fight. It's pre-fight reports suggesting that that he failed various tests. These are VADA tests as well.
Analytical findings in it,
Not failed, returned an atypical finding, suggesting that a particular agent that enhances testosterone, which testosterone builds muscles, right?
Yeah, but this is a natural thing that can happen within the body, and I think that was the argument there.
Metabolites.
Metabolic. So
metabolites.
He went straight away. That was in December, I believe, and he went and done another test straight away, and he come back negative. So you can understand where it's at.
No, because it's interesting.
And I think it was a legitimate thing, and I saw that whole thing with Tony Bellew and what he was saying, and he sort of
Tony rode back a bit from it when I was speaking to him yesterday. He rode back a bit from the accusations because he was kind of three-line whipping it by saying, I don't know any fighters that get better and stronger
with age.
Sure. Right? And George Foreman didn't, and so on and so forth.
What do you mean George Foreman didn't? George Foreman retired 25 years later, come back and won the world heavyweight title.
I know, but against Michael Moore. He weren't fighting Joe Frazier, was he?
45 years of age.
I know, but he wasn't. The point that Tony's making in that example is George Foreman of the 1970s hit harder and was more powerful than the George Foreman of the 1990s.
Yeah.
And what George Foreman beat in the 1990s was lesser opposition.
Yeah.
So his point is salient, but it misplaced because I don't look at Beterbiev and think to myself, I've got a concern about what you're doing.
Beterbiev is like, forget that he's like 40. Is he turned 40 years of age yet? He was 39, coming up 40 this month or whatever, or whatever it is. But you look at him, he's a strict Muslim who lives the life, eats, sleeps, only drinks water, and the guy looks after himself. So you can't knock what he's doing. And I think what
Muhammad Ali
what
was
he-
a strict Muslim, didn't he? He didn't run around
No,
the
but I
world
think
philandering.
what he's going off there, Bellew, is that you look at the performance against Yard and you look at the improvements against Callum,
And it's exponential.
and you go, how's that so? How can you do that? Well, I'll tell you how you do it, because you're talking about a pound for pound star who's got that adaptability, that capability of changing and switching it up. He may have just had a bad night against
And
Yard.
you saw the power that Beterbiev has against Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah.
When he took his WBO belt the year earlier. So it's
Absolutely. And then,
in the offing, somewhere, not quite sure where it is, but not somewhere that I want to talk about, but there is a fight scheduled for Beterbiev versus Bivol.
yes, I think it's made. And I'm hearing June.
What do you reckon on that?
Well, I was big time Bivol before this fight. Now I'm Beterbiev.
So you sort of run with the hare and hunt with the hounds, do you?
Absolutely.
So you're easily swayed. So
Well,
Bivol's performance
Hold on a
against
minute.
Lyndon Arthur, where he just boxed Lyndon's ear off for 12 rounds and ultimately showed you the quality and class.
Yeah.
And his performances against Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
And his performances against Gilberto Ramirez, right?
Yeah.
All of those you're going to discount.
Right, yeah, can I
because
tell you
Beterbiev had
why?
one performance.
Can I tell you why?
You're a shocker, Spence.
Are you going to listen to me or not?
Run with the hair and
Can I
hunt
tell
with the
you why?
hounds. Tell me.
Because we look at the power of Beterbiev. To the people that you've just mentioned, Canelo Alvarez, who's not a light heavyweight. Let's have it right. You know, his better days really down at welter, light middleweight, super middle even. Yeah. So, but you look at that, and so you go Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, you take that away, and you look at Bivol against Lyndon Arthur, who Arthur hung in there. To be fair, Bivol was he was
Survived
first
it.
class. You know, he showed an excellent array of shots and boxing. You know, controlled the ring space, etc., etc. But Beterbiev's on another level, and you look at the power that he possesses with what he does, and I'll go, I think he may just outpower Bivol. I never felt that before this fight, but only on that performance. You can only go by off last
Bivol
performances.
is so disciplined, isn't he?
Where do you sit with it? Who do you think? Who do you?
I think it's a
fancy?
pick'em. It has to be.
Come on, you're getting splinters, mate.
No,
Get off
I
the
think
fence.
I think it's a pick'em. I think it's just
Yeah,
because,
but where-
just because you can do one thing to one fighter doesn't mean you can do it to
No,
another.
absolutely. No,
you know
listen,
that better than me.
No, 100%, and that's why I ask you.
My gut tells me Beterbiev.
Yeah.
But that's because I've got in the back of my mind Bivol versus Craig Richards.
But before this fight, you would have gone Bivol, right? I mean, I think we're pretty much
not
in the same
necessarily.
space.
Not necessarily.
Is that right?
No, I don't bend and flex like you. I'm consistent. I don't run with the hair.
You crack me
I
up.
don't morph
You
into
crack me
Gareth
up.
A. Davis and say, oh, where can I line myself the best? Right? That's not me. I'm not in a
Crack me up.
popularity contest. Spence.
No, listen. All I'm saying is, it's one of those 50-50 fights, and
That's what I just said.
I go for better.
Right.
Beterbiev.
Okay.
I
I am inclined.
so look up
I'm
to you. You
inclined.
know that. I
thank
just
you.
follow what you
Well, you look
say.
up to everyone, mate, because you're 2 foot tall. Right? But I am inclined to go with you
Okay.
and suggest that because of the sheer ferocity and power,
Oh, so you're coming my way now.
I'm going to go. I think it's a pick and
You're
fight.
so easily swayed.
It's a pick and fight. But if I were forced into a situation where I was said, right, you're going to lay some money down on it,
Yeah.
and you've got to lay this money down on it, something, put your hand in my pocket and pull some money out, something you know nothing about, I would go down the route of Beterbiev.
Okay, right.
All right.
So listen, all I'm going to say is, in future, can you just make your bed and lie in it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Kell Brook, and there's mutterings and noises being mooted that Kell Brook is back. I spoke to Kell last week, whose company I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Difficult period in his life. Come to terms with certain things. One of the things he's come to terms with, as the light's going down, and he talks about other things in his life, addictive personalities, and stuff like that, which you mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a lot about Kell Brook that tells you that he perhaps didn't get the recognition he should have got. Sean Porter fight didn't give him, despite the fact he went over to America, took Sean Porter's belt, never quite got the kudos and cachet he should have got, fought all the guys, unfortunately for him, lost them. But the mutterings are now that Kell is going to fight again
Yeah.
and is likely to fight Chris Eubank Jr. And I can tell you, unequivocally, he don't like him.
Yeah.
Of all the people he doesn't like, and he didn't like Amir Khan, and he didn't like a few other people, the person he really doesn't like
Yeah.
is
It's
Chris Eubank Jr. What do you think?
Do you know what?
Hasn't fought for a while. He's had some challenges.
I've been
What do you
close
think?
with Kell for many years, actually. I like
Lucky him.
You know, like him as a person. I think he's an unbelievable fighter.
He's a nice kid.
Yeah, he really is. And I know that how much he struggles well with life after boxing, that identity thing
addictions.
that we talked about. You know, he's hit serve depression. and he was struggling. He even rang me once, asking me, you know, what can he do? Where can he go? He's look, it's not about. It's not exactly.
Must have been rock bottom.
He was desperate. He said, listen, it's not about money, Spence. I've got enough money. It's not about that. He said, I just wake up in the morning. I don't know what to do.
I don't have a
can't
purpose.
find any purpose. Can't find any direction in life. I need to do something. I need to feel that time.
I think he recognises those things now.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at with it, and that's why he's still within, still staying in boxing. And do I want to see him box still? Definitely not. I don't want to see Kell boxing no more, because I think he's doing it for the wrong reasons. When you're a fighter, you want to fight, and the reasons you're fighting are because your dream and your aspirations are to become world champion and defend. Kell's done all that now. He's achieved all that now. The reason for him wanting to fight now is because he can't find any direction in life, and I think that slightly concerns me, because I think he's a great guy.
Okay, but you could make that allegation about Tyson Fury, and the reason why he's continuing to fight, right? Because he has his challenges outside of the ring.
Yeah, what I'm saying is Kell's days as a boxer are sort of slightly done.
Fine, but that's if you're talking about Kell Brook stepping in against a elite level current fighter.
Understood.
Now,
against a Conor Benn, say, for instance.
Why'd you say that?
Well, because Conor Benn's a young fighter, as opposed to Chris Eubank, who's at the back end of his career as well.
I'm
using him as an analogy.
I wouldn't say Conor Benn was an elite fighter yet. I would say that he's on a journey. If we can get himself past the problems he's got with the challenges he's got, to being an elite fighter, but he hasn't fought enough fighters at that level to say he is.
A Jerome Ennis or someone like that. Yeah.
So if he goes in against the Chris Eubank Jr., given what Chris, in fairness, did to Liam Smith, and again, Liam gives just an example that he wasn't fit and this, that, and the other, but notwithstanding it, Chris Eubank still went and did a number. Does it still make? I mean, would they fight at 168? You think?
It'd be an interesting one. I think that Kell obviously going up to that weight. That's what I'm saying. Like, nothing really goes in Kell's advantage. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, and I get if Kell was going to come back, you go Chris Eubank Jr. What is he? 35 years of age. He's been around a long time as well. You go.
Kell's a couple years older.
Sort of like like sort of that sort of it weighs up a little bit. But you go look at the weight and you go 168 is where Eubank is going to sit, or he's going to try and get down to. Will Kell try and make it at 160? I mean,
well, they could make it a catch weight.
They could make
163, 164, couldn't they?
Yeah,
and it would sit in the middle for both of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's a fight that could possibly happen, but is it a fight I want to see? No, I don't really. I don't want to see it because I think Kell's had an unbelievable career.
Oh, I do. You don't want to see.
What's your reasons behind it?
Because I think it will be an interesting fight. Right. I think that that Kell.
Don't you think when a fighter's retired that he should stay retired? In Kell's situation,
well, you think around. You think
he's been retired for a while.
Yeah, you think that he should retire because he's searching for validation for the sport. Right?
That's exactly it.
And there may be an element of that. I would suggest that someone needs to retire when they can't do it anymore, and they haven't got the ability to do it. Now, I don't know whether what we saw with Kell. And I want to be careful with my words about discrediting Kell's performance. Was we saw one fighter that really wanted to fight in the Kell Brook Amir Khan fight. The other one that felt he had to fight. And when we saw those two boys on the stage, because I had the audacity to say to Kell, I think you get beat by Amir Khan, and he corrected me and said, because he's got more speed than you. He said, well, timing beats speed, right? And when we saw them on the stage, you saw Kell Brook at one end, and I went, oh. Man, I don't put any money on Amir Khan because I tell you what,
I was with you.
I remember thinking, crying out loud, he don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But that to me, does it show me that Kell still has the ability to fight at a certain level? And does it worry me him going against Chris Eubank that there could be some damage done there? No, it doesn't. And I think there's genuine jeopardy in the conversation in terms of bad blood. Whether you like it or not, bad blood fuels good fights or media interest. Is it?
There'll be a lot of interest around the fight.
I think it's an interesting fight.
I think there's a lot of interest around the fight. And I've got a very strong feeling it will happen. Yeah. I believe that as well because I know that Kell wants to come back. All I'm saying is that I'm just talking about it as a friend saying, listen, don't come back for the wrong reason. Yeah. Don't come back because you can't find you're searching for something else to do.
It's a journey,
not because you want to. Yeah, exactly.
So each time he steps in a ring, it may be one less time he needs to.
But what we can't deny is should I say when the fight is made, because it will get made. When that fight is made, there will be a lot of interest in the fight. Of course there will be, whether that's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, there will be a lot of interest in the fight. It'll be a big fight.
And, given it'll be inside a British ring, it'll probably have lots of atmosphere.
Who wins that, by the way?
Who wins it? You have to say Eubank because he's more active.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've written Kell Brook off on a number of occasions.
I think there's a number of factors surrounding it. What weight it's made at.
Okay, let's finish this subject before we move on to the last one. Who, in the analysis about who wins this fight, who's the better fighter?
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook, innit?
Yeah, Kell Brook.
Yeah, there you go, Kell.
Kell Brook is the best fighter. You look at it. You've only got to look at the.
He's a world title holder.
Yeah, but
was a world title holder.
But he's a very good operator as well.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah.
Big fight coming up in women's boxing this weekend. Great fight between two very articulate and very statesmanlike participants in Natasha Jonas and Mikaela Mayer. Spoke to Mikaela earlier on with you. Very eloquent, very articulate. Interesting fight. She's stepping up 2 weight classes. Tash is heavy-handed.
Yeah.
She's an exponent or a backer of the 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened in this fight. This is a good fight, right?
Great fight. I mean, both girls started their careers at super featherweight. We saw Natasha Jonas have that draw with Terry Harper. Very unfortunate. A lot of controversial in many ways. People felt she won that fight. Stepped up to lightweight. She's gone on from there, hasn't she? Stepped up to lightweight.
Lost to Katie.
Yeah, lost to Katie. And you're looking at Tash then and going, I think she's going to be one of the girls that doesn't quite make it. And, you know, like, but then she just boxed Chris Nemes up at super welterweight.
Which we saw, which was Manchester on the undercard of the Smith.
Knocked her out and was it the second round? Or
was it undercard of Smith Eubank or was it Brooke Khan?
Brooke Khan, yeah. And she's put in an unbelievable performance and she hasn't looked back. She dropped that back down to welterweight, won a Candy Wyatt. I think she beat her in her last fight at welterweight. And now this opportunity comes for Mikaela Mayer. But that's what the girls do. They jump through those
she's
weights.
a class operator.
It's a great
Mikaela
fight.
Mayer is a class operator, isn't she?
She's a girl that she's a workhorse. Like why she wants a 3-minute round is because, like she said, she's not got one punch knockout power, but she's very consistent. She's got a great work rate. She's she'll look to sort of systematically break her opponents down. The one with the one punch knockout power is absolutely Tash. Yes, out of that southpaw stance, she's got an unbelievable right hook and she's got a great left hand through the middle as well. Stylistically, this one could be an absolute barnstormer. Yeah. Who wins it? Do you know what? I'm sort of unsure at the moment. Home advantage could be crucial for Tash in this fight because it's one of those fights you go, we're all going to have an opinion, but you don't really know where this is going to sit. You don't know where.
Yeah,
it's going to go.
I'm loath to write off Natasha. So my inclination. I mean, Mikaela Mayer is a slick operator. Yeah. I thought she was unlucky in the one fight that she's lost against Alicia Baumgarten. But I think Tash is very heavy-handed.
She is.
And I think she's heavier-handed than Alicia Baumgarten is. So I think, clearly, because there's a weight difference. Yeah. But I think that she causes Mikaela those sort of problems. Yeah. And whilst Mikaela might be an advocate of going up to 3-minute rounds, because and she obviously puts herself into backing that because she wanted it for this fight whilst going up 2 weight classes. Sure. I just got a feeling that Tash will have just a little bit too much for her.
I think you may be right on that.
Easily influenced again?
Why wouldn't I be?
You're like the Churchill
why
dog.
Wouldn't I be?
Why like the Churchill dog.
I think I saw a comment there somewhere said that as well. So yeah, why wouldn't I be easily influenced by you, Simon, with your unbelievable boxing knowledge?
Thank you. What does it open? Does it create any opportunities for the winner of this fight?
The winner of this fight, do you know where? I think the winner of this fight, and this is where I see the winner of this fight going. Claressa Shields would be a great opportunity for the winner of this fight because she's the quote of women's boxing, and you just look at it and you go, this is at welterweight. Claressa Shields, boxes at middleweight, super middleweight. She can come down. The girls jump up and down through the weights.
Why does it have to be called quote? I know what it stands for. Why can't it just be called greatest of all time? Why has it got to be quote?
We live in a political world.
Like old pony, if you ask me. It should be.
We live in a political world. What do you want me to say?
We live in a political world. I don't know how I work with that one. In a political word. Thanks for that insight, Spence. Talking about Alicia Baumgarten, she has now been cleared by that wonderful bastion of all things insightful, the WBC, from the challenges that she had with the bad substance she got herself into trouble with.
What does that mean, though? Like cleared by the WBC? The WBC cleared Conor Benn of any wrongdoing, but he still failed 2 tests. Like they just cleared his name to put them back in the rankings. Exactly what they've done with, Baumgartner. Exactly the same thing. She's not been cleared of the tests. They just cleared her to go back into the WBC rankings. They let me down a little bit, the WBC rankings, because they've got a rule of their own and they just decide to do what they want to do, make up their own belts, and you just go...
For me, it's. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the most prestigious of all the belts. 100%. WBC, WBA, then you had IBF, then you had the WBO, and then you move into the IBOs, right?
See, your knowledge again is just unreal.
But I look, thank you, and I'm helping you, and I'm hopeful that it will land with you.
Prestigious, what does that mean?
It means valuable and something that people respect. But I can't understand what this organisation is, because it seems to me it doesn't deal with its mandatories properly. It gives excuses to people that are finding themselves in challenge positions. It makes up belts to sanction fights.
Yeah.
I mean, this is... I think Mauricio Sulaiman does it a disservice.
I agree in many ways, because like you say, like, you know, if there's a situation, you go, you've got to, for the sake of the sport here, you've got to step up and do what everyone else is doing whilst certain situations are going on. You can't just go, well, we're going to clear her of any wrongdoing. We'll clear Conor of any wrongdoing, even though there is wrongdoing, and put them back in our rankings. On what basis? Where are you going?
Oh, we're going to rank a fighter.
Where are you going with that? Apart from putting a dirty stain on boxing, and I think that's where we're at with it.
Well, that's my train of thought.
Yeah, so that's because my strong.
I was looking at you.
I was
going to make some smart-ass comment about your shoes.
No, don't make no feeling about my shoes, because I'll talk about the shoes that you've just gone and bought.
I think they're snides.
I think the shoes. What? Because you've just bought 4 pairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But mine are real.
Can you wear yours next week, by the way, instead of those granddad slippers? Because I want to see some decent things on here.
Comfortable. I've got terrible bunions.
I can see you look like you got your
terrible athlete's
granddad's,
foot,
or maybe even your nan's slippers on. I don't know what they are.
Yeah. My nan weighed about 40 stone, so she wouldn't have worn those. She should have worn shoals. You know, shoals, the comfortable shoes. Look, there's other things going on that are interesting under the category of any other business that Pat's now put into the equation. There's his wonderful producerial content when he appears. Lomachenko back in the ring.
Yes.
Coming back off a beating by Devin Haney.
Well, it wasn't a beating. I thought he won the fight. I thought he won that fight against Devin Haney.
Coming back after getting beaten by Devin Haney.
All right, yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Just stick with me, yeah.
George Kambosos.
Yeah. Well, Kambosos is coming back off those 2 beatings off Devin Haney as well, but they were a lot more one-sided. I think,
Good fight.
The fight lands in Perth. When are we
IBF.
talking? In May time, isn't it?
We are talking in May.
Yeah. Yeah, May
spring.
time, in spring in Perth. Look, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. Where do I see the fight? How do I see the fight going? Lomachenko for me.
Yeah.
He'll have too much. Lomachenko will have too much for Kambosos. Home advantage, will be crucial for Kambosos, but I just think the angles that Lomachenko creates, his boxing IQ, I think is just too much for Kambosos, who, he's a good fighter, got great hand speed, comes in, he's a little bit unpredictable at times, comes in straight lines. Yeah, I'm quite strong on Lomachenko.
Remind me of who beat Lomachenko when he had a shoulder injury.
Teofimo Lopez.
Was it Teofimo Lopez?
Yeah, Teofimo Lopez.
Right.
Yeah, and he lost that fight. That was a narrow fight as well, but he boxed with one arm. He had the pins put in straight after.
Talking about Teofimo Lopez, Terence, he's been calling out Terence Crawford.
Yeah, I like that. I like that fight, to be fair.
Isn't he? He's got unfinished business with Errol Spence, hasn't he? He won't have unfinished business.
Errol
Spence has got unfinished business with him. He's got totally finished business.
Yeah, he's got totally finished business. Errol Spence has got unfinished business. That was my point. He's chasing the fight. Yeah, but I mean, look, I like that fight actually, because I think that Teofimo Lopez, I think when he had that little dip against Kambosos, etc., and he lost that fight to Kambosos, split decision. When he had that dip, I think there was things going on outside of the ring. You could see that was taking its toll on his performances. I think he's back to his best now. He was an underdog actually going into that fight with Josh Taylor, and that masterclass he put on against Josh Taylor. You just looked at it and go, I like this. Yeah, I like this a lot. And I think that him and Terence Crawford, I like that fight. I'd like to see that.
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Up at 147. Yeah. Lopez would jump up from 140 up there. And I think that's a good fight.
Crawford all day though, isn't it?
I can't see anyone beating Crawford. I think he's not just a modern day great. I think he's an all-time great. I think he will go down in the history books. You'd put him in with any welterweight from any era. I would anyway.
Right, that's it, Spence. That's it for episode 56. We'll see you next week. Unless, of course, you're from Saudi.
Simon, before we go.
What?
I want the Louboutins on next week, not the granddad slippers. Thank you.
I'll make sure that I find myself like a Tweedledum Tweedledee moment. Except mine are not Jekylls. Mine are real.
Oh, these are Jekylls now. Okay.
See you next time. We're out.